Hey, welcome back to Lengold English, where we learn from golden stories for a fluent future. Let me ask you something today. A real question. Why do some people walk into a room and everyone wants to talk to them? Why do some people have friends who call them every week, asking for their advice, their stories, their time? What makes a person interesting? Think about the people in your life right now. There's probably someone you know who, when they start talking, everyone listens. When they tell a story, people lean in. When they share an opinion, it makes you think. And then there are other people, good people, nice people, but when they talk, you find yourself looking at your phone. You find yourself waiting for the conversation to end. What's the difference?
Here's the truth. Most people are boring. And I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm saying this because it's reality. Most people are boring not because they are bad people, not because they don't have value, but because they live the same day again and again and again. They wake up, they check their phone, they scroll through the same apps, they go to work, they come home tired, they watch TV, they complain about being tired, they go to sleep, and the next day, the exact same thing. They have nothing new to say. No stories to tell, no passion in their eyes, no spark. They talk about the weather, about traffic, about their boss. Surface level, safe, forgettable. But then there's another type of person. The person who has traveled to strange places and can tell you what it feels like to get lost in a foreign city. The person who reads books that challenge their thinking and can discuss ideas that make your brain work. The person who tries new things and fails and learns and grows. The person who asks questions that make you stop and really think. The person who makes you feel alive when you talk to them.
The question is, which person are you? And more importantly, which person do you want to be? Because here's what most people don't understand. Being interesting is not a gift. It's not something you're born with. It's not about being naturally charismatic or funny or smart. Being interesting is a skill. And like any skill, you can learn it. You can practice it. You can become it. This video is not for people who want to stay comfortable. This video is not for people who just want to feel good for 20 minutes and then go back to their old life. This video is for people who are serious, people who want real change, people who want to become magnetic. And here's a bonus that you might not have thought about. While you're learning how to become more interesting, you're also dramatically improving your English. Every phrase you hear in this video, every new word, every sentence structure, every way I connect ideas, you're training your brain to think in English naturally. You're learning vocabulary about personal development. You're hearing how native speakers build arguments and tell stories. So stay focused, because this video will transform both your life and your language skills at the same time. Let's begin. Tip 1. Stop trying so hard. Here's the first truth, and it might surprise you. Desperate people are not interesting. When you try too hard to impress someone, they feel it. It's like a bad smell in the air. When you fill every silence with words because you're nervous. When you laugh too loud at jokes that aren't funny When you agree with everything someone says because you want them to like you, people see through it, and it pushes them away. Think about someone you know who tries too hard. Maybe they talk too much. Maybe they always have to be the center of attention. Maybe they constantly look for approval. How do you feel around that person? Probably tired. Probably uncomfortable. Now think about someone who is truly interesting. They're relaxed. They're comfortable in their own skin. They don't need your approval. They share their thoughts, but they don't force them down your throat. They're okay with silence. They're okay with disagreement. They're okay with just being. This is the foundation. You cannot be interesting if you're desperate. You cannot be magnetic if you're needy. Your mission? This week, practice silence. When there's a pause in conversation, don't rush to fill it. Let it breathe. Count to 3 in your head before you speak. You'll be surprised. Often, the other person will say something deeper, something more real, something they wouldn't have said if you had jumped in immediately. Also, practice disagreeing. If someone says something you don't agree with, instead of nodding and saying, yeah, try saying, I see it differently. I think, and share your real opinion. Not in an aggressive way, just honest. Being interesting starts with being comfortable with yourself. When you stop trying to be liked, you become likable. That's the paradox.
Tip 2. Fight your laziness with action. Here's a law that I want you to remember. Write this down. The level of how interesting you are is exactly opposite to the level of your laziness. Think about it. Lazy people do the same things every single day. They wake up at the same time, they take the same route to work, they eat the same food, they watch the same type of shows, they talk to the same people about the same topics. They never challenge themselves. They never step outside their bubble. They choose comfort over growth every single time. And you know what happens? They become predictable. They become dull. They have nothing new to share because they experience nothing new. But interesting people, they move, they take action, they try new things even when it's scary. They push themselves.
You want to be interesting, then you must work for it. This is not about talent. This is about effort. Read that difficult book that everyone talks about, but nobody actually reads. Learn that new skill you've been thinking about for years. Go to that place you've never been, even if you have to go alone. Have conversations that make you uncomfortable because they challenge your beliefs. Let me give you an example. 2 people live in the same city. Person A goes to work, comes home, watches Netflix, goes to sleep. Every day, for years. Person B goes to work, but 3 times a week they attend a dance class. On weekends, they volunteer at an animal shelter. Once a month, they try a new restaurant from a cuisine they've never tasted.
Now, imagine you're at a party. You can talk to person A or person B. Who do you choose? Person B has stories. Person B has experiences. Person B has learned things. Person B is interesting. Your mission: choose one thing you've been avoiding because it's hard or uncomfortable. Maybe it's learning a musical instrument. Maybe it's joining a martial arts class. Maybe it's reading philosophy books. Maybe it's learning to cook properly. Start this week.
Not next month, not next year, this week. And here's the key. Do it even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it, because that's when you're fighting your laziness. That's when you're building the life that creates interesting stories. Remember, effort creates experience. Experience creates stories. Stories make you interesting. It's a chain, and it starts with action. Tip 3. Develop your own vision of the world. Most people are like parrots. They just repeat what they hear. They watch the news and say, yes, that's exactly right. They listen to their friends' opinions and think, I agree completely. They read one article and suddenly that's their whole worldview. They never question, they never dig deeper, they never think for themselves. But interesting people have their own lens, their own philosophy, their own convictions about how the world works. You don't have to be right about everything. Nobody is. But you need to have your own opinion. You need to question things that other people accept without thinking. You need to develop your worldview based on your own thinking, your own reading, your own experience. Let me be clear. This doesn't mean being contrarian just for the sake of it. It doesn't mean disagreeing with everything to seem smart. It means actually thinking deeply about important questions. What makes a good life? What does success really mean? How should people treat each other? What matters most? When you have your own vision, conversations become interesting. You can have real debates. You can challenge ideas respectfully. You can make people think about things they've never questioned before. I'll give you an example. Everyone says, follow your passion. It's common advice, right? But an interesting person might say, I disagree. I think passion follows mastery. You become passionate about things you're good at, not the other way around. Suddenly, the conversation gets deeper. People think, they argue, they learn. Your mission: pick one common belief that everyone around you accepts without question. Maybe it's something about success, relationships, money, education, happiness, anything. Now, challenge it. Research the opposite view. Read articles and books from people who disagree. Think deeply about it. Form your own conclusion based on evidence and logic, not just feelings or what's popular. Write down your thoughts. Practice explaining your view clearly. And then, when it comes up in conversation, share it. Not aggressively, not arrogantly, just confidently. When you speak, people should hear you, not just an echo of someone else. That's what makes you memorable. That's what makes you interesting. Tip 4. Maintain a positive attitude.
Nobody wants to be around negative people. This is a fact. You know the type who complains about everything: the weather, the job, the traffic. Maybe they are right about some things, but complaining doesn't fix anything. It just makes you boring and exhausting. Interesting people have a different approach. They see opportunities, not just problems. They look for solutions instead of pointing out what's wrong. They inspire others with their energy and optimism. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to focus on what you can control and improve.
Remember, your attitude is contagious. When you're positive, people feel better around you and want to spend time with you because you make them feel hopeful and energized. When you are negative, people start avoiding you because you drain their energy. Your mission: for one full day, ban all complaints from your mouth. When something goes wrong, instead of complaining, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Or how can I make this situation better? Also, practice finding the positive side of every event. Your attitude is choice. Choose to be the light in the room, not the shadow. That's what interesting people do.
Tip number 5, experience new things. Here's a simple truth. New experiences create interesting stories. And interesting stories make you an interesting person. If your answer to, "What did you do this weekend?" is always, "Nothing much, just stayed home," you're giving others nothing to work with. But if you try something different, rock climbing, a pottery class, exploring a new neighborhood, suddenly you have experiences. Suddenly, you're interesting. Interesting people intentionally expand their comfort zone. They say yes to invitations, travel to unfamiliar places, and try new things, even if it's slightly uncomfortable. That is where growth happens. When you experience new things, 3 things happen. 1. You create memories and stories. 2. You learn new skills. 3. You meet new people. It's a positive cycle. Compare 2 people, person A, who scrolls every weekend, and person B, who learns to make sushi or hikes a new trail. 3 months later, person B has something rich and fascinating to share. Who do you want to talk to? Your mission. This month, commit to doing 3 things you've never done before. They don't have to be expensive. Visit a new museum, attend a free workshop, or try cooking a new dish. Stop living the same week 52 times and calling it a year. Every new experience is a future conversation topic. Start collecting experiences. Start living.
Tip 7. Be genuinely curious about others.
Here's the secret. The best way to be interesting is to make others feel interesting. Most people just wait for their turn to talk. When someone shares a story, they immediately interrupt to relate it back to themselves. But interesting people ask real, deep questions that show they genuinely care. Instead of the usual, "How was your weekend?" they ask, "What's something you're excited about right now?" or "What's been on your mind lately?" And this is crucial. They actually listen. They don't interrupt or immediately relate the story to themselves. They listen, maintain eye contact, and ask follow-up questions to go deeper.
For example, a bad conversation ends quickly. A good conversation involves follow-up questions like, what made you choose that trail? Or what changed that made you decide to try? This shows you are learning about their motivations and growth. When you make someone feel seen and heard, they think you're interesting, even if you barely talked. People will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. Your mission? In your next 3 conversations, ask at least 3 deep questions that require more than a yes or no answer. Practice active listening and don't talk about yourself until the other person asks. Being interested is the fastest way to become interesting.
Tip 8. Tell stories, not just facts. This is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Boring people state facts. Interesting people tell stories. Look at the difference. Boring person says, I went to the mountains last week. It was nice. The weather was good. Interesting person says, last week I was hiking just before sunrise. The fog was so thick I could barely see the path. Then the sun broke through, and the entire valley looked like an ocean of gold. I realized this is what we're missing, stuck staring at screens. Stories have 3 essential parts. Context, set the scene, where, when, what you felt. The unexpected, the surprising, challenging, or meaningful heart of the story. The moral, what did you learn? What did it mean? Facts inform. Stories transform. Facts are forgettable. Stories are memorable. When you tell a story, people experience it with you, creating an emotional connection that makes you unforgettable. Don't think you need extraordinary experiences. Everything can be a story if you frame it right. A difficult conversation, getting lost, a cooking disaster. Your mission? Take one simple thing that happened to you this week and tell it as a story, using the 3-part structure. Practice writing it down and telling it out loud. Also, study good storytellers, like comedians or podcast hosts. You're not just sharing information, you're creating an experience. That's what interesting people do.
Tip number 9. Consume quality content strategically.
What you put into your mind directly comes out in your conversations. If you only consume shallow content, short videos, reality TV, your conversations will be shallow and forgettable. But if you read challenging books, watch deep documentaries, and study expanding subjects, you'll have depth and insights. Quality content is content that teaches you something new, challenges your existing beliefs, and requires your full attention. Here's a powerful strategy. Seek out views that are opposite to yours. Read authors or listen to smart people you disagree with. This doesn't mean changing your mind. It's about broadening your perspectives and understanding complexities.
Means you'll understand multiple perspectives. People who only confirm their existing beliefs become boring repeaters. People who expose themselves to diverse ideas become nuanced and interesting. Your mission? This week, replace 1 hour of mindless scrolling with intentional quality content. Read a nonfiction book, watch a documentary, or listen to a podcast about complex ideas. The key is to take notes and discuss what you learn. Curate your consumption ruthlessly. Your mind is like a garden. You choose what to plant every day through what you read, watch, and listen to. Interesting people have interesting thoughts because they consume interesting content. It's that simple.
Tip 10. Be brief and relevant.
Interesting people know when to stop talking. This is the most underrated skill. Boring people tell long, directionless stories, giving too many unnecessary details. They fail to read the room because they're too focused on what they want to say, not noticing the other person checking their phone or looking away. True communication is about awareness. It's paying attention to body language and energy levels to gauge engagement. Signs of losing interest include wandering eyes, short responses, leaning back, or trying to change the subject. When you see these, wrap it up or change the subject immediately. Signs of engagement include maintaining eye contact, leaning in, and asking follow-up questions. When you see these, you can go deeper. This is about respect for the other person's time and attention.
Your mission. In your next 5 conversations, consciously observe body language. Practice the one story, one question rule. Don't stack stories. Conversation is like tennis, not a solo performance. If you notice signs of disengagement 2 minutes into talking, stop yourself and ask them a question. Talking less often makes you more interesting, not less. When you are selective about what you share, you leave people wanting more. Interesting people understand that the quality of your words matters more than the quantity.
Tip 11. Match and mirror energy levels. Every person has different energy. Some are loud and enthusiastic, others are quiet and reserved. Most people make the mistake of staying in their default mode, regardless of who they're talking to, which creates friction. Interesting people have social intelligence. They adapt. If someone is excited and talking quickly, match their high energy and enthusiasm. If someone is quiet and reflective, slow down. Lower your voice and give space for silence to go deeper. If they are joking, joke back. If they are serious, be serious and supportive. This is not being fake. It's being socially intelligent. Think of it like music. If someone is playing soft music, you don't play loud, aggressive music, you harmonize. Connection happens when energy aligns. When you match someone's energy, the conversation flows naturally, and both people feel comfortable. Example 1. Excitement. Instead of, "Oh, okay, cool," say, "That sounds amazing. Tell me more." Example 2. Struggle. Instead of dismissing it with high energy, say, "That sounds really difficult. What's been the hardest part?" Your mission. In your next 3 conversations, consciously observe the other person's energy in the first minute. Deliberately mirror it, and notice how much smoother the conversation feels. Be flexible, changing your energy with theirs. When you master this skill, people feel comfortable and understood around you. They'll just know, "I really like talking to this person."
Tip 12. Use notebooks, your secret weapon.
This might sound simple, but keeping physical notebooks is one of the most powerful tools for becoming interesting. Digital notes disappear. Handwriting makes ideas stick and become part of you. Keep 3 notebooks, not apps. Notebook 1, knowledge. Capture powerful quotes, insights from podcasts, and valuable lessons from conversations. This becomes your personal library of wisdom.
When you write ideas down, you remember them better, and they surface naturally in conversations. Notebook 2, Experiences. This is your story bank. After doing something new, write about it, where you went, what surprised you, and how you felt. Writing preserves the details and turns ordinary moments into memorable stories you can draw from easily.
Notebook 3, Self-Mastery. Use this for planning and tracking. Write down your goals. What skill will you learn? What new experience will you have? Review your week every Sunday to ensure you're pushing past your comfort zone. This notebook keeps you intentional and accountable. Your mission? Start today. Get 3 simple notebooks and label them Knowledge, Experiences, Self-Mastery. Commit to writing in them for just 5 minutes every evening. Write one thing you learned, one thing you did, and one action you'll take tomorrow. Do this for 30 days. You'll start noticing, learning, and remembering more. Physical notebooks become a record of your growth. What you write down stays with you and makes you more interesting every single day.
So, let's be honest. Most people watch videos like this and do nothing. They go back to their comfortable, boring lives, waiting for change to happen to them. But you're still here. That means you're different. You know that being interesting isn't a gift. It's a skill you build through effort, courage, and discipline. And here's the reward for doing the work. People will want to be around you. Conversations will flow easily. Opportunities will appear. Life becomes an adventure instead of a routine. Now, you face the real question. Will you start today, or will you look back in 10 years and regret not starting? If this video helped you, hit that subscribe button. Join our community, people who use English not just to speak, but to transform their lives. This is Lengold English. Golden stories, fluent future. See you in the next video.